Um, Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and join this meeting. And it's funny because I only got to meet Tyler because he typed in Salem, and that was a Zoom meeting that I was doing in Massachusetts. And I guess he was aiming for Salem, Oregon. So I also apparently pronounced Oregon or Oregon wrong. So that was based one of our first conversations. Because my association with Oregon is just Oregon Trail or whatever, and like dysentery or something. Anyway, that's I usually don't love to prepare when I share just because I know I'll screw it up. But yes, I am Steve, an alcoholic. My sober date is June 24th, 2020. And my drug of choice is alcohol. And yeah, I know that I'm really happy and grateful to be a part of AA because it definitely saved my life. Yes, as far as my experience, strength, and hope goes, as a kid, I was generally a loner. I was very good at school, very smart. I could, do all that stuff pretty easily, but I never wanted to deal with people really. Think I have three brothers. That was sufficient. And I didn't really get really good at socializing, I guess, and figuring out how to like make friends and whatever. My family, I had a good family growing up, and I guess my interaction as far as alcohol goes at that point was, my parents drank, but they also grew up with, either mental health or drunk relatives or families in their homes. So I kind of always had an awareness of that, and kind of their hostility. I remember a neighbor getting a divorce because the husband was, found out as a drunk, and he left in ignominy or something. So he and I thought I was supposed to hate him. So I really didn't socialize that much, and I had kind of these heads up, which I think pushed, my drinking a bit later in life, which is fine. It's just how it played out. The other thing that I always mention, because I think it makes me still a little uncomfortable, was but it definitely made me more robotic in high school, was I figured out I was gay when I was in middle school, maybe late elementary school. I kind of had an idea about that, and my solution was just to become a robot, basically. I could do the schoolwork stuff. I was just gonna put a kibosh on the big time socialization stuff. I wasn't a complete hermit, but I just, and I kind of was known as this robot in high school. I did well in it, and then, you know, just kind of carried on, just waiting for, to go to the next stage of my life, or to, you know, kind of hide away from people. So I remember I'm one of those people that remembers my first drink very vividly. I was at a party with, I have a twin brother, so I kind of, can harp onto him a bit. But we went to a party and I had two beers, and even just two beers, it felt amazing. I thought it solved all the problems in my life as far as interacting with people, not feeling anxious, not feeling worried about like what people thought about me. I remember wanting to fight people, and that was just after a couple of beers, and being really just aggressive and very, I don't know, vivacious, I guess. But and that's kind of where it started. I remember just looking forward to the next chance that I got to drink, and you know, it never college, I was a weekend warrior kind of situation. I probably drank too much and got crazy, but didn't do anything as far as a jackpot. But I also noticed the trends of, as a kid, I like to isolate. I like to avoid people. I didn't want to interact. And I think and, when I was sober, through high school, acting like a robot and during college, I kind of had my first, dealing with depression and, thoughts of suicide and things like that. Uh, and as I progressed to college, it didn't really start to get to the uh, stealing booze, drinking alone phase until I was 21, because then I realized, I can actually do that. I can actually go ahead and do that and no one will bother me. And I thought that was like the most brilliant thing that my brain came up with. And, you know, I I got through college fine. It definitely, I was naturally good at school, so I didn't have to try. I'm fortunate with that, but it it definitely was starting to tank. And then grad school, which I work in IT. I've always been good with computers, so grad school is just computers at home mostly, and I can do that with a six pack on the side right there, and that wasn't a problem. So but at that point, I was drinking in my room alone. I was uh when I was living with my parents or with other people, I would start waking up really early to carry all my empties in a big backpack or a hiking bag or something to like a dumpster at my at like a middle school or something, just to dispose of the evidence, just kind of weird stuff like that. Um and at that point, I hadn't quite resolved issues with my sexuality, that's still work in progress, I think. But I would start kind of drunkenly going on hookups and whatever, and just running away from those as fast as possible after I sobered up. Um, but finally, the drinking really got bad towards my mid 20s. I'm 31 now for context, but so in my mid 20s, I moved to apartment alone, kind of the end stage of my isolation. And, you know, my days became this. I would go to work, walk home, because my justification for drinking later would be that I walked 4 miles home and I was living in Boston. Um, and I wouldn't eat really a lot. And so I would kind of like starve, dehydrate myself, and then get drunk. And that's really the pattern. And it really only broke, if there was a hookup or if I took a sick day just to, you know, and eventually after a few years of that, I noticed my body was starting to kind of break down. I would have to, take the freezing showers in the morning just to wake up, and then have to do XYZ to kind of get through the day. And fortunately, like, I lived in the city and I didn't have a car, so I'm very grateful for that. I didn't have a car for most of that period. But I remember when I was 20, a few years of that, just I had tried Vivitrol, naltrexone, things like that, going to therapy, getting rid of the therapist, drinking through Vivitrol and naltrexone. And finally I had this kind of weird intervention where my like parents and brother came, and I ended up at detox, which I lasted 4 days and then left against medical advice. I'm just checking where I am at time so I can, because and then lived with my parents for 16 months. It was a abstinent 16 months. I wasn't happy. I would and live with them. I was sober for 16 months, but I wasn't really doing the program or anything. And then about actually 2 years ago, to around this day, actually, I relapsed again. And it didn't pick up right away, but slowly definitely increased, and I got back to daily drinking, and then I got back to morning drinking, and then I got back to, you know, stuff I didn't do like before, like driving under the influence and things like that, started happening. And I drank with an SSRI in my system. I did all that stuff, and then COVID hit, and there was uh, days that I that's when I started going crazy. And I know I don't I guess I see COVID as one of the ways it helped me get to the point I needed to get help. So in spring of 2020, I just couldn't get I was definitely drinking earlier and earlier, like all day, every day. I wasn't talking to people unless it was like randomly my parents who were worried about me. And eventually in May, I couldn't, like, there wasn't like an hour that went by that, like, I live next to a train, an Amtrak train, those Acela trains that go really fast and they just zoom by. And I kept on thinking, I couldn't get it out of my head as far as, that's all I had to do in order to end this. And so in May of 2020, I finally, like, one Tuesday, I remember it wasn't a Tuesday, it was before that. I called my brother, had him, and called a detox and got myself into a detox. Spent 8 days there. Then subsequently told my brother when he picked me up to drive me home, that being in that detox was the happiest, of days of my life, honestly, because I was with people and I didn't feel like complete. I don't know. It was such a bizarre kind of reckoning for me because I was like, honestly, I hadn't been happy. I had just been drinking away in my 20s. But I did 3 weeks of IOP and then relapsed again. And at that point, I had to realize I had to give everything up. I had to give up my independence and kind of ask my parents for help, which I really didn't want to do. I had to be willing to give up my job, my apartment, everything, because I was just tired. They say you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's, when it started. That was a Tuesday. And I went to detox, and then I went to a good rehab for a month. I took a month off of work. I'm fortunate to have my job. I work in InfoSec, so it's IT. And then I didn't want to at first. But I ended up at a sober house, a nice sober house in Massachusetts. I spent 5 months there because I wanted to adjust back to living on my own. And that it was there that I really started trusting people again, particularly men. I have kind of a dodgy relationship there with men, gay and straight, and it's just something I have to work on. But I really grew close to people, and it was, it wasn't necessarily easy. We lost the first person that I trusted there, the house manager, Mark, passed away about like 6 weeks after he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And then I know a couple months ago, one of the guys at the house who had known was OD'd. But this is the first time, I have almost 15 months of sobriety. I'm very grateful for it. What I notice is different is there are things that I've done in these last months that I would never dream of doing, and like I've gone skydiving 3 times, which is awesome. It also shows how kind of weird my brain works, where jumping out of a plane is less terrifying than being worried about upsetting the tandem instructor about how I'm jumping out of a plane, which makes no sense. I, I have people I can talk to. I didn't have that before. If okay, I'll finish up because I've taken about 15 minutes. But yeah, I have, tomorrow I'm going hiking, and then I have a meeting in my old sober house. I never did things on Sunday before. And I actually have some sort of life. And it's never like totally easy and wonderful and sunshine and rainbows. I had a bad week this past week just because I woke up sad and depressed and I didn't know why. I couldn't explain it. And I just had to, they say like take it a day at a time, and sometimes you have to take it an hour at a time or whatever. I had to do that. And I'm just very, very grateful for what this program has done for me. I hope it can, it's 2 years since that kind of latest major relapse kind of took hold of me. So I'm hoping, I got to keep doing meetings. I got to keep going ahead and doing these shares, even though they're still kind of terrifying. And I'm just really grateful that I actually have a life that like there's hope in my life, I guess. I always kind of was stuck in that depressive, like, what's the point of it? But and I was always, I always thought of myself as a pure loner. And one of the guys in my sober house was like, "No, you're not." That whole weird expectation of me being antisocial and misanthrope isn't true. I actually do like people. It just takes me a little bit or it took me a while to figure that out. I'm gonna shut up now. Hopefully, thank you all for listening. I'll be quiet now. Thanks.